Neil went down to Yuma for a state transportation meeting today. And he had a little vehicle problems. He wasn't in an accident. He just had a problem with his truck. So he was trying to get here in time. It's a 3-hour drive. I offered to go down and get him, but that wouldn't having him here anymore. But he is on his way back to Santan Valley, and he's willing to call in on the phone. It was too late for us to cancel everything, so what we're gonna try to do is call him on the phone, ask him what laws that passed that he would like to speak to. Then we'll ask him what bills they're going to be introducing this legislative session that he's been working on. And then we'll, if you guys have any comments or criticisms or suggestions for bills or things for them to be thinking about at the legislature, then we'll open it up. Okay? I apologize, but we're doing the best we can, right? Hey, Neil Carter, it's 6:59 p.m. Are you ready to join us with STVAC? Okay, I did explain you had some vehicle problems, and we have your picture posted up. We did not hand out any darts, so nobody's going to be taking shots at you or anything, but. Okay. So do you want to go ahead and start discussing some of the bills that you worked on that became law and kind of give us a rundown on how that might affect us?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'll just give it a very quick kind of update on what transpired last year and what might happen next year. And then mostly I want to take questions, I guess the main thing. Can you guys all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I went yesterday and today to Yuma to the Rural Transportation Summit we have. And obviously, for me, transportation is a priority, particularly in our area. And I'm actually in Bend right now, so I was trying to get back, and I had to change the fuel pump on the car. So I'm sorry about that. I will actually call you back in an hour or two, but I'm sorry. Really, as you know, I'd love to be there. We're excited to connect with people. If you want to meet up for coffee or something after this, that's fine. We can do that. But right now, I'm in the band. I'm sorry. All right. So last year, the most important thing that we did is to pass a budget. That's always the most important thing we do. It's actually the only constitutional requirement we have. We could literally go down there and pass the budget at the end of the year. And that's always important, of course. So I want to talk about that first. It's the main thing. We can talk about other bills too, and then we'll talk about what might be coming up. So in this year's budget, you have obviously a Democrat governor and a Republican legislature, but only by one vote. And our priorities as Republicans was to pay for education, including school choice, and also border security was big for us. We don't want to raise any of your taxes. We wanted to give a tax rebate because we had a bit of a surplus. And our idea is, it's your money. There's no such thing as a surplus in government, really, right? It's just extra money it should get back to you. And then also, we wanted to make sure to not fund anything that's abortion related or abortion adjacent. So these are some of our priorities. The governor had other priorities, obviously. She wanted to address homelessness, so she asked for some money for that, and of course we need her signature, so we had to give her some money for that. In education, so the schools, increased about 6.9%. So, we already have children now that have their education. Education currently takes up more than one half of your state's budget. So, the more students, then there's more funding per student. So we adjusted the formula up by about 2.9%, and one-time funding this year another about 4%. So we increased education spending by about 6.9%. But we were actually able to reduce spending overall, which is huge. I know that might sound funny, but in government it's hard to shrink spending. And so we actually passed a budget that was 1.6% lower than last year's. Now remind you, that's in real terms, 1.6%. We've been seeing inflation that's almost double digits, so if you consider inflation, it's maybe like a 5% cut. But so 1.6% budget reduction, but in the context of that, we still increased the funding for education.
So 1 point.
I think that's important for me, though, particularly because I live in Santan Heights, like you guys do in Santan Valley, is roads. So roads are the number one thing for me in terms of spending. I don't think the government should be involved in a lot, but one thing it should be involved in is roads. That's a traditional government function, and it's also something that's important to the job creation that run all the life. And finally, it's one of the things that has a return on investment. So if you spend money on, say homelessness, you might help the homeless guy, but the money's gone. If you spend the money on roads, though, it actually grows the economy because it taxes people here, it creates jobs, and in the end, you take in more tax dollars in subsequent years because you spent the tax dollar this year building the road. So we were able to this year, several of us, I can't give credit for this alone, but about 5 Valley legislators, we got together as a group of us, and we sort of pooled, as it were, our resources, and we got included into the budget $9 million for State Route 24. Now, I know you might think, well, State Route 24 is nice for the town, but it's not close to us. I had actually drafted a bill to pave on highway to 7 lanes, meaning 3 direction and a turn lane, the whole length of it. Yeah, it would have been about $36 million, but that bill didn't get a hearing from the transportation chairman, and didn't really work out. So when I approached Pinal County and said, hey, once you most want funded, would it be something like Cut Highway, because that's what I would think, right? They said, no, we can do that. We have plans to widen the parts outreach. But we want to do 24 done to the canal. And the interchanges too. You know it's supposed to have interchanges. I know people think it's ridiculous because there's signals, but the interchanges are coming. Don't worry, it's a funding thing, but they'll be there eventually. So I asked them that, and they said they have plans to create a parkway that runs south from State 24 down to Florence, and so that will serve our area. And there'll be exits at Bella Vista and Skyline and Alpajito and so on. And so that was why they wanted the money for State Route 24. They can't create this parkway unless, of course, there's a connection to it. And 24 will terminate for now. It'll actually go to 60 eventually. It'll terminate for now at the canal, and they can build their parkway. So we got $89 million for that. We're all pretty proud of that. We also got some money for One Thing I Can and some other transportation projects. So almost $500 million in the budget for transportation statewide. That's in the context of a $17 billion budget. So you can do the math yourself. Look at the lot of spending. We're trying to invest in the future of roads and transportation. That is talking about education. All the other stuff is kind of more minor. I can tell you about it if you want. Those are probably the 2 big wins that we got in this year's budget. Plus, we reduced the spending, which is always great. A number of us, like I say, kind of conservative Republicans, we think that the money is your money. It's not tax money, it's the taxpayers' money. It's your money, and it's not the state's. And it's sent to the state in trust to continue on worthy projects. But if there's an excess, really, we should give that to you. So we also managed to get $260 million, so that's almost $250 million, returned to the taxpayers as tax rebate. Okay? And so if you include that as a reduction of the budget, it's even more than 1.6%. Right? So we're really well. And so this is what we did. They're supposed to go out, I think, later this month or next month. So that's something you can look forward to if you have dependent children. If you don't, I'm sorry, it was how they're structured. That's one thing that's a big thing, I think, in order to really transportation and budget in general. In terms of other bills, there's a whole long list of stuff that I could go over, but a lot of it's just statewide things. I think in terms of next year, what I'd like to do is keep working on taxes plus if you go on Amazon and buy something, a lot of businesses are charging you to meet the tax rate. So it's slightly higher tax, and that's based on the codes and things, but where I live, I'm routinely charged a Maricopa County income tax, which is a little bit more, so that's a frustration, but it's not really the amount that it bothers me. What bothers me is that the taxes are remitted to the state and then feed over to the county, feed in Maricopa County. Now, we're living in Brown County where really roads are being set, and all that tax revenue does go to the roads. So it's a travesty. You and I are paying sometimes indirectly, it's not our fault, it's Walmart.com or eBay or whatever, but sometimes some of that money is being lost for another reason, and it's just being wrong. So I'm working on that.
When I'm listening, so the thought comes out the bottom of my head.
So I know it's me up.
I'm just curious, because she holds it up higher. I didn't.
Alright. So that's one big thing that we're looking at. I'd love to take questions. I'm going to get out a list here. I'm preparing a list of some of the things that we've worked on over the last year. I just want to get that out. But while I'm getting that out, I'd love to take questions for what you guys have, and then also what's important to you. I want to hear what's important to you, because of course we can work on what's important to you, right? So are there any questions here?
Jeannie?
Any questions?
Jeannie? Put up some of the questions.
Behind you.
Oh, sorry, Neil, we have some questions on the board here. SB 1008, conduct of elections. Counties have expressed issues with the timing required not being sufficient for the counties. Do you see any changes in the next legislative session?
So I'm sorry, breaking up a little with this. Election integrity is going to change it related to West Mississippi.
What was that, Neil?
Read it again.
Read the question again.
Okay, so do you see any changes in the next legislative session because the counties have expressed issues with the timing not being sufficient for the counties?
I'm not hearing the question. I don't know why. Can you guys hear the presentation? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me if I talk right into the phone?
That's just breaking up. But what I heard was something about timing of elections. Well, let me just talk about election integrity in general. Election integrity is paramount for me and for many of us. And I want you to know, by the way, that I have been a poll watcher since 2008. We jumped on the election integrity bandwagon last year when it became trendy. I really have been doing poll watching. I've also done the verification of the vote tally in 2018 in Central Cal. I've done a number of election-related things just as a citizen volunteer, so it's always been important to me. Here's the deal, though. Election integrity has been painted by the media as a tinfoil hat thing now, and it is falling along party lines that, although I would like to see a number of changes, for example, I think the voter rolls should be cleaned up every so many years. That's just one simple fix to do. But it comes out of the elections committee, over 3 bills last year. I think only one was signed. So basically, we're going to have the word elections in it. Governor also does that. Because the politics as it is right now is speaking out. Democrats need Republicans as tinfoil hat on that issue, and anything that we might do that's consensus veto. So, be mad at me, please, okay? I'm not the problem, or I'm not obstructing things, and I'm not saying we can't work on it, but politics is the art of the possible, and elections matter, because when you put people in office, you get their policies to represent. And so, at this juncture, we can draft and pass all we want to, and we have. Like I said, we passed over 40 bills, multi-billion bills. But the challenge is that we're going to be fine. So that's where we're at.
Okay. The next question is Van Gilder versus Arizona Department of Revenue. What is happening with the taxes collected? Who decides, the courts, legislators, or PRTA? What are they waiting for?
So this is a question about the now RTA asset sales tax that was collected, is that right?
It sounds like it. Can you confirm that, Kevin, or?
Yes.
So I think what the question is that the court struck down on half-cent sales tax, and you want to hear about that, is that it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what happened. We taxed sales tax, and I say we because as a county, the voters, so you, us as voters, in 2018, and they structured it so that it only applied to purchases under $10,000. Because the auditors were concerned that they would lose business and that would adversely affect them, so that was compromised. Now, one of the conservative viewpoint group challenged that tax the court. They won ultimately, but the problem is that they collected, the judge did not enjoy the collection of the tax. So they collected a tax for almost 4 years. And there's about 80 million they collected, which is money that you and I paid, right? So Walmart, they paid it, right? But they collected it from us, sorry. Like I said, I'm in you with that. There's a train, because there's always cross-country trains. So I'm sorry if you not annoyed. It's just a wait for it. Just let's wait for it. So it's still in an account. And the law works. I think I'm going to wait for a second. It'll be a mile wide, so just wait for a minute.
Neil, we appreciate your commitment. We appreciate your commitment, honestly, we do.
Bye-bye.
Are you there?
Just so loud. I'm going to wait for the train to go by, all right? Sorry.
It's like the Amityville Horror, isn't it? Just in time for Halloween, all these spooky noises.
I can't hear all this noise. I'm sorry. Just we have to wait for the train.
That's all right. So you guys so far, you said that money is sitting in an account. And I think committee's been working with some people to figure out how to disperse it, so that's probably what they'll tell us next.
Right, sorry. So
That's all right.
here's the deal. Approximately 2 miles on the highway. I'm like, wow, they're like 2 miles long. It's craziness. As you know, they go to the Port of Long Beach, so all the nation's rankings through here. Here's the deal. The law says that the money has to be refunded. And that's a simple axiom of law, really. The tax was declared illegal, right? So it was illegal. Permit can't keep it. Even if, we decided we wanted to or something, it's illegal. They have to give it back. So there's zero chance that we can spend it anyway on the project we want, or that we can otherwise, reroute it somewhere. It has to go back to taxpayers. So that's the problem. Because the person who paid it is Walmart, in the sense that they remitted the payment, but really you paid it, and I paid it, and she paid it, right? We the tax, they collected it, and then paid it on our behalf, really. If you overpay your tax, you all know, because you do income tax, you get a refund, right? You overpay your income tax, you get the money back. And that's easy when there's a form that has your name on it and the amount to give you. The problem with this is you're going to loan. Well, Walmart paid $20 million, right? So do we want to have Walmart fill out a form and get $20 million back? I mean, now the government can't keep it, like I said, fine, but that's terrible because it's a windfall of Walmart, and it's money that you paid, right? So it's a big problem right now. They're delaying paying it back for about 2 years because we're still trying to figure out if there's a solution. So some people have said, well, we'll do, we'll create a refund process, and then we'll tell Walmart to go apply for the refund, and when there's leftovers, spend it. But frankly, I don't think that that's realistic. I think that the Walmart board of directors has a fiduciary duty to their stockholders. They're not going to leave $20 million on the table. They don't know or care about Pinal County. You've never heard of it, and they're going to apply for the money. So I don't think that just hoping that the big corporations are going to give up money is realistic. So that's one thing. The second thing is then how do we get it back? So can we give a sales tax holiday up to $80 million in Pinal County? So consumers like you and me who paid it get the money back in sense. We've been looking at that. The other option that the county had floated to me was let's give a rebate on property tax for the amount that's there to get it back. The concern right now is the lawyers are saying, if you do that, the county will pay the $80 million that it collected back to the property owners or something, homeowners, for example. But the problem there is Walmart can still sue and say, hey, we have a right to a refund here. And then we wind up paying it back twice. And Walmart wants to know how the refunds of the tax. So it's a big sticky mess, and it's a problem, and it's a travesty. Because what I don't want to see is a windfall of Walmart. I want it to go back to you and to us. Hey, I did it too, right now. That's the status of this right now. I had a call with the Goldwater lawyer and the tax group called ATRA last month on this very issue. I know there's other representatives of Martinez that are worried about it. To get some kind of agreement with all the parties that we can do a tax rebate to the people and at least get back to people. That's the status of that right now.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, so Neil, the third question is HB 2298, planned communities and public roads. Do you see any changes being made in the next legislative session?
So 2298 is a project that has to do with the right to park on a public street, in short. This passed and signed by the government. So I don't see anything changing on that. It's supposed to take effect in June 30th of 2025. It doesn't take effect for a while, but let me explain what it is. So, as a lot of you know, the homeowners associations forbid parking sometimes in their association. And that's fine if the homeowners association owns the road. Most communities own their roads. There are others that own the road, and so they can do that. It's also fine if the parking has to do with the homeowner himself on his lot. That's fine. The concern was that public roads owned by public, and the way in which you prohibit parking on a public road is to pass an ordinance, right? And I'm sure that you've seen cities and towns with no parking signs, right? Says no parking overnight or no parking on certain days, and that's a city ordinance that's created by their councils, right? I'm sure you've seen parking meters. I mean, all of that is normal, and it's not by cities where the authority did that because they own the road. So the problem is this: the homeowners associations don't own the road, but they're creating a rule about it, and so the sheriff is not able to enforce that rule. If the homeowner association or someone called and said, hey, someone's parking in front of their house, the sheriff would say, well, it's not.
Yeah, our microphone died. We're trying the other one.
Let me know when I should start again.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the problem with it is they really have no authority to regulate roads. And so what's going to happen sooner or later, someone's going to challenge it in court. And they're going to say, you can't charge me a fine for something you don't own. And then the court will strike it because it's clearly a legal thing, right? You can't regulate a thing you don't have any control over or that you have no right to regulate, right? So that was the concern with that one. And basically, the law was changed in 2014, I think it was. It was already changed a long time ago. And it said that the issuance would not be parking in new developments, so from 2015 on. But what's happened is old ones that were grandfathered in, they were asking them they were still regulated. So 2298 basically tells them you have to go and get the ordinance, okay, to regulate the parking. That's basically. I don't see anything changing. It doesn't go into effect until June 30th. I don't see anything changing on that. I don't know if there's a more specific sort of concern with that happening, but.
Okay. Then the fourth question was, are there term limits for state and or county elected officials?
There absolutely are, and there should be, and I'm glad there are, and I support them. But I should say there are for state only, that I do not believe the county, well, I know the supervisor has been at 12 years, so I'm pretty sure the county does not have a term. Okay, county, local, anyway. The mayor of Casa Grande told me he has a term limit, so apparently some of the mayors do, I guess, but the county board doesn't. I don't believe so, because years. Like, no, it's been 14 years, and I tend to be quiet, so I don't need to anymore, you know. So there's that. But, anyway, that answers the question. Yes, there are. I think we should fix that loophole, but for now, that's the law.
Okay. Are there any questions from the audience? No. Is there anything you guys can think of that you would like to have it discussed or considered at the state level? Is there something that's going on in your neighborhood, in your HOA? And, you know, like, I'm gonna encourage you, if there is, Neil Carter does respond to everybody. He's very responsive, he's helpful. If you need any of his contact information, you can reach out to any one of us on the board. We'll be happy to provide it to you. I don't know his email address off the top of my head, but.
The last email is N as in Neil, right? N Carter, so NCARTER at AZLedge, LEG. If it's .gov, remember it's .gov, but N Carter at AZLedge.gov. It's also pretty easy to find online. I've got kind of a binder in front of me that I intended to speak with. Were I there in person, and I just want to mention there were a couple of things we accomplished. We are working on water. I'm surprised no one asked about that. Water obviously is a big thing. We're increasing the capacity of our dam. We're trying to do some other stuff, and we are. It's sort of a new water finance authority in a sense, but we decided to give $1 billion over several years to this, not just to raise dollars, of course, but to be able to invest in real sources of new water, whether that's desalination or some kind of pipeline from the east, or whatever comes out that's most feasible. So we're trying to get ahead of the water problem now, because these things will take 10 or 20 years to really get done. So we are working on that. I already told you about education and stuff. There are some good things we got done too. Gail Goodman sponsored a bill that passed to say, if you're on a do not call list, because you know they're getting those spam calls, there is a do not call list you should get on it. It doesn't mean that everyone respects it, but it does reduce the calls you get. This bill says you can't be texted either, so that's a nice thing. So we are looking out for you and things like that. I passed a kind of small bill last year involving privacy, banking privacy. They were keeping people's personal details for over 10 years, and so they're capped at 10 years now. So we are looking out for people in that sense, right? There's a number of other stuff that we've done. We could talk all night about different things that we've done.
So Neil, real quick, HB 2301, the Homeowners Association political activity, can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So believe it or not, that's a meaningless bill. It actually didn't do anything. I'll have to tell you the story of why. What it was really just changing wording, just changed the words in the statute. So one of our constituents, I work for you, by the way, right? And if you're coming to me and say this is a problem, then I work on it. So one of our constituents lives in Cantera, okay? And this particular lady was knocking on doors in Cantera where she lives because she was interested in the ballot ID that was on. Remember, there was a proposition on filing voter ID. So she was knocking on her neighbor's door, stickers, and vote that. And the HOA told her, you can't. But the state statute says you can. We always can. So the First Amendment is a federal constitutional amendment that secures the right of free speech. And it's always been that way. HOAs can't forbid you from soliciting. So they can say no door-to-door salespeople, the solar stuff, but they can't prohibit First Amendment things, including politics, right? If you want to knock on your neighbor's doors, they don't have to answer, but the HOA can't tell you not to ask them for voting on things. And that's the way it's been that way really forever. Here's the deal. Just because you have the right to knock on their neighbor's door, does that mean that the HOA, which is gated, then Conterra is gated, does that mean that they have to let you in? No, right? Like the gated community is community. You have access to the gated community because you tell them, I want to knock on the door, it's ridiculous. So what it's you have the right to, approach your neighbors about First Amendment things like politics, but you don't have to gain access to the community. The problem is, this lady lived in Conterra. She lived there. She had the right to be in her neighborhood, and she was knocking on doors, and the HOA said, oh, well, this doesn't apply to us because we're gay. So they had a lawyer write the letter and said, this is a violation of our rules. I'm like, no, she's not. The law says she has the right. And he goes, oh, but we're gated, so she's in violation. Is it like she doesn't have access to her own neighborhood? So what you find with lawyers is frustrating is they love the word accept. You find the word accept, but not afraid to enter it. And they'll go, oh, he says accept with the gate. You don't have to win. So let's say that means the law doesn't apply to us. So what we did is we took out the word accept. So I say, it actually doesn't change the law. Honestly, it doesn't change the law at all. It's the same as it always was. It says, it's good for good sales stuff, but when it comes to First Amendment issues, they aren't allowed to tell you not to knock on doors. And if they're gated, they don't have to let you in. But if you live there, if you live there, so they're not letting you in tonight, but they still accept certain. We basically reworded it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions? Just a second, you.
Do any of the bills affect the success or whatever from our petitions that will be going out, affect the planning for incorporation?
I think what she wanted to know, were any of the bills or laws that changed, would they affect any of the petitions that are being circulated for incorporation? Is that right? Okay.
I don't think so, no. It's the same for as long as I can remember, at least back to 2020. It's the same positions.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so since Neil isn't here, I'm gonna give you a real quick commercial. He's having his barbecue Saturday. If you haven't seen the little flyers, it's from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. The little blue posters that he has, it lists the address and everything. It's a good time. Hamburgers, hot dogs, they provide soda and a few beers. But it's really a beautiful setting. It's out in the mountains, and when the sun goes down, it's kind of reverent feeling actually. But if you guys would all like to come, I'm sure he'd appreciate you being there. Anything else, Mr. Carter?
I just really appreciate this. I'm very, very sorry that I'm stuck in people, man. Oh my gosh, I'd love to see you in person. If you want to see me, even one-on-one, buy your coffee or buy your beer, whatever, just let me know. You know where call is best. I'll be out of town for a week for work. And we have, by the way, part-time legislators. So we have real jobs. I have a real full-time salary job. And the legislators like my duty. You go down for 100 days, you do that, and then that's your job. So we're traveling for work next week, but tell me the water. If you have any questions, let me know. Reach out. That's it. I really so appreciate this, and I'm still stuck in this. I'll be back in an hour, so I'm sorry.
All right, thanks, Neil. Give me a call when you get in town. We'll go shopping.
After barbecue stuff, certainly. God bless you. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye. So I get to go with him and pull grocery carts around through Walmart. So it's really kind of a test on my knee. But I know, where's Kevin?
He's hiding.
He's hiding.
Oh, did you take him back? Where
I'm trying to control things.
Okay, so we can turn off the mic now, and
You need to get a little closer.
they're gonna have a committee